So, welcome to the EnteleCast by EnteleKey, the weekly gaming news and discussion show that's mostly in English.
I'm Jad,
And I'm Sander.
and these are the gaming news for the week.
But first, we would like to thank you all for your support and your kind words on our previous podcast. It was well received by all of you, and we're very happy to hear that you're liking this, and we feel motivated to do more. And we hope you stay along for the ride with us. Thank you all, and let's start with the topics this week.
Okay, for our big topics, we are going to start with the GMTK Game Jam 2020, which we'll be explaining further in the podcast and our experience and what it was.
Also, we have a lot of Xbox news this week, like 8-Bit Do collaborating with Microsoft and create a new small controller for the xCloud, all the way to xCloud will be free for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
And for quick topics, we have two this week. One is about the social media accounts for new games and the events that were discovered these last days. Those include the Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary account, Twitter account, the Japanese F-Zero Twitter account, and possible Sonic Adventure 2021 account.
And finally, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remake will have no local multiplayer. The Game Maker Toolkit Game Jam 2020. Game Maker Toolkit is a YouTube channel for people that are starting the game development journey, such as ourselves, and we highly recommend it. They host an annual event that is called the Game Jam, and in that event they propose a theme which you have to use to build your game in 48 hours. It is quite challenging, especially for people like ourselves that we hadn't made a game before this. We participated, and this was our first game. We're very proud of it, but boy, was it challenging to. I'm not gonna say learn to make a game because we already been working on a project on our own um, for a year, pretty much, but we haven't released a game before this. And the game was the theme. I'm sorry, was out of control, which meant that either some mechanic had to be out of control of the player, or something about the story, or perhaps some random infinite elements. I don't know. You had to let your creativity run wild for this. And what we
More
did,
like you have to, more like you had to get your creativity out of control.
my God.
Like we let our lack of sleep go out of control that weekend.
Yeah. It was like working for a school project which had a deadline for Monday, and you were like, oh my God, it's Friday and I haven't done anything in 3 months. Except that we were actually excited to work on this. And we were doing it out of our own um, volition, our own desire.
We actually wanted to do it, and we enjoyed it, even while we were suffering at the moment.
Oh, yeah, we were so dead.
we were we went through some moments where we wanted to give up and just release it days later or something, or then we went to not wanting to give up even after the event ended and we didn't make it in time, but we were still like, well, let's just do it.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't make it in time. That was a shame, but it's okay. We learned a lot from the experience. Um, we still did our best, especially with the time we had, and we did end up making um, a submission entry, which we could not submit. Of course, it was out of time, but a group of people that missed the deadline ended up making an event.
Called the deadline jam missers.
Yeah, I'm gonna be showing it here on screen, and this is what we turned into that GMTK deadline Mr. Jam. It's called Genkinichi Kyo wa Genki dakara boku ga subarashii hinichi yo, which means I feel good today, so I'll have a wonderful day, something like that. Um, it's supposed to be referencing the isekai anime genre, um, and in their game, the protagonist loses control of their lives, and so
Also, there.
yeah, they died, and they seek out to recover control of their lives by passing the death's trials, and it's up to the player to help our character to regain control of their lives. Good luck with that.
By the time we're recording this, we have already received some feedback on the game. We're going to revisit the game after the voting week for the game jam missers deadline missers is over, and um, we're going to correct those the bugs we have. We make some improvements and update the uploaded file again.
Yeah, look out for an update patch sometime next week where we're going to address common issues, especially the text boxes, which we know would have been nice to be able to skip or speed up or stuff like that. Um, Truth is, making a game is a lot of work, even more so that I imagined. I mean, we obviously knew that you have to do a lot of things, like if you're gonna make a cutscene, well, you're gonna script the whole cutscene where the characters are, how they move. You're gonna script all the dialogues, but you don't realize all the details that go into that. Like for instance, the text boxes. Well, you have to create the asset for where the text will be displayed, and you have to write the text, and you have to fetch the text, put it into the box. You have to create the mechanisms to write the text on screen one letter at a time if that's how you want to make the animation. You have to make the the listener for the input so that it will move on after you click it or press a button. And if you want to make the text to go even faster after you press a button or skip it, you need to manually program all those things. So it ends up being a lot of time invested just to display some text on the screen, and then you have to do everything else. It's crazy how much detail ends up going into a game. That's why you see some polished games and some unpolished games out there in the wild.
And that's just talking about the text box while showing the text. You also have to disable every single thing you want to disable while the text is showing, or enable what you want to enable while the text is showing. In the case of our game, we had to disable movements in some scenes. We had to disable attacks, jumping, and
Yeah,
re-enable
because
them after the text was over.
Yeah, because you need to have your character completely still while you're reading the text. And when you press any button, you don't want the button to now move forward the text or skip it entirely instead of jumping or something like that. That also needs to be manually done um, to be able to switch what the buttons do on each moment.
Especially with games like the one we made, where we actually made three mini games and fused them into one big game with a story.
Yeah, that pretty much was the reason we ended up missing the deadline. We seek out to create one game, but we accidentally made three games altogether. And I mean, we're happy that we were able to make three games in one weekend, but yeah, next time we won't be that ambitious for to be able to stick to the 48 hours of the competition because of course we're planning to participate next year as well. And of course we're going to be releasing our own games outside of these events. We're currently working on what will be our first big game, our first project. It's called Huxley. um, we're going to be letting out more details about it as time goes on. um, we already have some nice characters designs. I just want to say this because I like how they're turning up, and I wanted to congratulate our graphic designer who's listening to these without being heard by you. Um, and Yeah, how about we move on to the? Oh no, no, no. There's something else that I we needed to mention. That a total of 5,492 submissions were sent to this event, which is pretty much double what last year had. And they released this graph, which seems to indicate that there will be exponential growth forever and ever. So looking forward to that Game Jam 2030, where more than the whole population of Earth will be making submissions of games. Um, and about the deadline missers, well, we weren't that many, but uh, I'm glad we got these deadline missers events so that we still can get some exposure. And we've gotten some comments from that, as well as our friends who have tried the game. You haven't tried it out, you can check it out over at um, I'm gonna link it on screen. It is entelekey.io/Genkinichi. And if it says that it is a virus and stuff like that, well, you know how antivirus works. We simply couldn't sign the executable file digitally, so it is recognized as a safe file. But don't worry about it. It's safe. Trust us.
The link will also be available in the comment section below.
Yeah.
And please, if you play the game, we are open for feedback.
So moving on.
Yeah, let's move on to the Xbox News Roundup.
Oh, is this interesting? Lots of Xbox news this week.
So let's start with the 8-bit. 8-bit one. Well, 8-bit is collaborating with Microsoft to create a small controller for the X Cloud. 8-bit is a controller manufacturer that usually specializes in retro gaming controllers, like their most famous, I think it was called the SN30 Pro, for which works on computers, on phones, and also on game consoles.
We are gonna be looking at it on screen. It is a Super Nintendo style controller that, as you said, works um,
Everything.
on everything.
And Nintendo Switch is the most nitpicky console right now when in terms of control compatibility. And these controllers have actually good compatibility with the Switch. And
Which is great and all, but what the product that I'm the happiest about. Sorry if this seems like a sponsor. I wish they sponsored us, but they are not. This is out of our hearts. It's the USB adapter that allows the Xbox controller and PlayStation controller to be used on a Nintendo Switch. I saved a lot of money by using one of these to use my existing Xbox controller. It might be blasphemous, I know, but it's convenient.
okay, but going back to the news, the news of the week,
Oh yeah.
this controller is designed for Microsoft xCloud service, which is part of what we're going to be talking about this week.
Yeah, they're really trying to compete against Stadia, even though Stadia doesn't need any competition to, you know, struggle in the market. To say it one way, and but they are sure aiming for that um, gaming as a service cake slice. And this is interesting because I mean they already have Xbox controllers which you can use for the cloud, but now they are also selling new controllers specifically for the cloud, and I suppose uh, compatible with everything else like all the Edvito products. Yeah, it says here Android smartphones, tablets, xCloud, sufficiently licensed as an xCloud and Xbox controller.
Well, their objective with this kind of controller is to be more portable.
Yeah, yeah, because you can see here in the picture, it's pretty much as big as, or a little bit smaller even than the phone that it's supposed to be attached to.
And in my opinion, this seems way more portable than the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, you could argue that because I mean you're already gonna carry your phone, so and perhaps we might get a bigger picture if we go for the other news because they're also um, planning to launch Xbox Cloud streaming free with the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate in September. So pretty much same Microsoft here, where you like it or not, you're gonna have access to the cloud. Go play it. You can have it on all your devices. You're already paying for it because you're paying for everything else. The Xbox Game Pass is aiming to be a very compelling product uh, more and more as time goes by.
So the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate um, user base will serve their purpose as some sort of testing grounds for Microsoft for the xCloud service.
Yeah, imagine that testing your gaming as a service platform before actually launching it and not charging users for it, technically. Wow, what a novel concept, doesn't it, Google?
2 weeks later, Google knocks at your door and they are going to charge you for all you save.
EnteleKey banned from publishing on Google Stadia ever again.
And the Google Play Store.
Google Play Store. Okay, that one hurts.
Yep.
Not that we're planning on releasing mobile games, but yeah, it's a big market to be left out just because it's one comment you said on a podcast.
Also, adding to those news, Xbox One X and Xbox One S are going to be discontinued, or more like are actually being discontinued right now. They're not no longer going to be produced by Microsoft. They're going well, the versions they're going to discontinue are the digital versions because they're going to be replaced by the Xbox One X. I mean, by the Xbox One.
If you knew how many takes we have done because how hard it is to say Xbox One X, I don't know what they were thinking without those names.
The digital versions of the Xbox of the current Xbox are going to be replaced by the new Xbox Series X and Xbox rumored Xbox Series S at the moment. But they're letting the Xbox One S non-digital version live right now. They're still producing it, and they say they will keep producing it to be a cheap alternative to their new roundup.
Yeah, which is fine and all, but you know, piecing all the the pieces together, they are preparing right now for the launch. Where they're saying you can still use the current Xbox, but you won't be able to find it. You will instead have to buy the new one, but you won't need to buy it because the Xbox Game Pass will allow you to play any game you want on your PC, on your current Xbox, on the new Xbox, but you will also be able to play those games on your phone or I don't know what other devices they will bring compatibility to. But it seems like they are moving away or trying to reduce importance that the hardware has on their games, which is a weird thing for a console manufacturer. But remember, Xbox isn't a console manufacturer, it's just a brand of Microsoft, and Microsoft is huge. Um, they're talking a lot about the future of gaming, but every time, but it seems like they don't mean that just as a marketing way to say the new consoles. It seems like they're trying to shift how gaming works by with all these services, with all these things that uh, it'll make it possible to compete with Microsoft on each area, like the gaming streaming and the console market and the PC market. But you won't be able to compete with Microsoft on all across all the areas, which is what they seem to be aiming for.
They seem to be going for a sort of Jack of all trades, master of all.
Yeah, master of all.
And adding to that, Microsoft also stated that they were going to bring retrocompatibility of their 4 generations of Xbox to the new Xbox.
Oh, that's great. So you'll be able to play all Halos and all the other exclusive games on just the new Xbox. Huh.
Every single game that's been released on Xbox, as long as it doesn't need a Kinect to play it.
Oh, no Kinect. Interesting. I mean, that's a necessity, the Kinect thing, I suppose, because, you know, developing support for all hardware that they won't bring into the future. Uh, I mean, makes sense, and it also served to make me realize just at this moment that they aren't mentioning the Kinect anymore. Huh? They're actually killing it. But that's more of a side note. I'm sorry. Um, what I was gonna say is that it's a necessity to do that in order to be able to bring compatibility with all games, and also bringing compatibility with all games seems to be a very clever strategy of them. So far, we have no news on exactly how many generations will be compatible. The PlayStation will be compatible with, and of course, the Switch isn't compatible with anything. It doesn't need to because it has many ports, but it's incompatible with previous games. Microsoft really is aiming to do everything this generation, don't they?
They seem to actually be doing their effort this time.
Yeah, like we said on the previous podcast, this is shaping up to be like the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 launch more and more. Let's just hope that it doesn't end the same way, or or perhaps let's hope it ends the same way where Sony ended up at the top, the very end, because Microsoft started strong. They went lazy and they seemed to stop trying, or at least they were too busy dealing with all the Xbox malfunctioning. And Sony caught up by actually having some games, despite how hard it was to port them to their console
And develop for them.
and develop for them. Regardless of how that turns out, it's clear that both Microsoft and Apple, from what we covered last time, are trying to change the future of gaming and consoles and computers in a way that they are trying to blend platforms. Like just like we just saw that Microsoft is trying to bring the Xbox games to the mobile um, and the PC and pretty much every platform they can get their hands on. Apple is also merging their computer platforms and their mobile platforms into one. And it's clear that big changes are coming in the future for technology overall, not just gaming, but gaming will be benefited from them or at least shaped by them. So it will be a pretty interesting future in the following years.
I just only wish the Xbox Game Pass will or the X Cloud service will come to the Nintendo Switch. It's actually a really comfortable console which will benefit from a service like this.
And it might just happen. We don't know. We have seen Microsoft very friendly with Nintendo in these previous years. And there are a lot of rumors about the Xbox Pass coming to Nintendo Switch, which seems to be a necessity for the xCloud service to happen on Switch. We don't know.
Will, will that mean Nintendo games coming to the Xbox X Cloud service?
I don't know.
One can only dream.
One can only dream. I mean, I'm not exactly an Xbox fan or anything, but if they come to the Xbox Game Pass, which is also available on PC, there's a chance that we might get our Marios on Windows. But that sounds like dreaming too much. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. But who knows?
Moving on to our quick topics. Social media accounts for new games and events discovered these last few days. Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary account was discovered by fans.
We are reporting this from videogameschronicles.com, but it was pretty big news everywhere. And it seems like this new account, Super Mario 35th, was discovered and it seems to be linked with the same mail that's used for the Splatoon account and the Super Mario Bros. Account, Super Smash Bros. Account, the Japanese accounts at least. So maybe Nintendo is gearing up for their 35th anniversary, which is next year, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure. I suppose next year. I mean, we would have known something by now this year. And
And it's not the only account that was discovered. I mean, the Japanese F-Zero account, or what seems to be like a Japanese F-Zero account, was discovered too.
yeah, which is exciting in more than one way because have any of you heard of F Zero in the last 20 years or something? I don't think so. Outside of Smash, that is. And Nintendo's not the only one preparing up for future events. It seems like Sega also is gearing up for Sonic Adventure 2020, perhaps 2021, perhaps. I don't know.
Or
I am really excited about this.
I hope it's Sonic Adventure and not Sonic Advent, like Sonic Christmas or something.
Sonic Advent Calendar 2021. Look forward to it. Woo! Yeah, and they seem to be using the same email address for the Sonic account. Um, so who knows? Hopefully, hopefully this means what it means. I cannot contain my excitement as a Sonic fan, which is weird because being a Sonic fan, I should be not hopeful by now, given their current record. But you know,
and be, and be wary of their new releases.
yeah, imagine Sonic Adventure 3 being just Sonic Forces like game with the same level design and boring story and all of that. That would be really sad, but this doesn't even seem to be Sonic Adventure 3. This seems to be a 2021 remake of the original Sonic Adventure, maybe? I don't know.
I just hope it's not Sonic Adventure 2006 version B2 or something like that.
You know what? I disagree to that because if anything has give us big laughs and memes on the last 16 years, it's Sonic Adventure. No, it's Sonic 2006 because it was so bad that it went all the other way around, and we had a lot of fun with that mess. Whereas Sonic Forces is just like, oh yeah, it's a straight line level design, haha, just one joke.
Well, you're right with that.
And that would be it for this topic. Moving on, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remake will have no local multiplayer. This is straight from the Japanese account for Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It says something along the lines of due to developmental reasons, we had to choose to either implement online multiplayer or local multiplayer and went for online multiplayer.
As someone who played the original Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube with three other friends, with with the full setup of four cable links and four Game Boy Advances,
Oh man, what memories.
yeah, that was a messy setup. But as someone who played the game in the original the original intended way to play it, I am conflicted at the same in a way that I am heartbroken about hearing this news, and at the same time I understand why they went that way, because I mean every single character had their menu, and they had they were made in a way that didn't that it didn't stop the gameplay on the big screen. Whereas if you implemented that in the Switch in offline multiplayer right now, it will be a really messy menu mess.
Yeah, I'm also conflicted about it. It was very nice to be with your friends in the same room, playing the same thing with your own screen, each while also having a main screen for everyone. But I mean, if given the current situation and the year, I mean, we don't know exactly what their developmental reasons were. They do not state they do not state it. Um, but we can more or less safely assume that if they are aiming for a release in this year, in like October, I think. Oh no, August it says here. Um, if they're aiming for an August release, and they won't move that, they won't change that timeline, that deadline, but have less productivity due to everything that's going on in the world. Um, well, they obviously had to choose, and that's fine. That's understandable. So I do believe that they made the right call. It's better to do it online than on local multiplayer because, I mean, if you are in the same room, even though it's obnoxious to have to go online just to play together and have some lag despite being all the same room, all together in the same room, well, you can do it. You can play locally, well, quote unquote, locally with your friends with the online option. Whereas if you are across the globe, you can't use the local to play with your friends. So, yeah, you can do both this way, and the other way, you wouldn't be able to do both. Uh, but it's still a compromise, and it's still not the same. But yeah, they did what they had to do, and I think it's the best option.
A sad but welcome option.
Yeah, that's what it is. Looking forward to this game release anyway. And that was it for that topic and for the topics this week. This is where we would usually talk about the game of the week, but given that we play the game of the week on weekend and we were participating on the game jam, we do not have time to play any game this week. We will, however, bring a new game next week, which will be Dweller's Path, a game made by Temi. Um, you might have heard of her because she participated in this little unknown game called Undertale. She made some graphics for it, and she's now making her own game. And of course, Toby Fox participated with her with the music. Um, that's nice to see them collaborating. But this is her own very game, and we will be talking about it next week, and we will be streaming our gaming session this weekend, this Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. East Coast.
I can't wait to play this game.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for it. I've been waiting for it since I first saw that that Temi was doing it on some tweets she made. Seems like a wholesome adventure.
yeah, it seems really cute and really nice and wholesome. Really looking forward to it, and we hope you look forward to it too.
And that was it for the EnteleCast. Thank you for being with us this week.
I'm Sander,
I'm Jad.
and tune in next week for more news and discussion about gaming.